All right, massive news. The 49ers, they remain the most aggressive front office in the National Football League. They have traded for Chase Young. The rookie stud back in 2020, he tore his ACL in 2021 for Washington, but Chase Young has been back with a vengeance this year. 5 sacks already, and he could play run defense too. I think the run defense is still coming back a little bit for Chase Young following the ACL tear, but he was back late last season, actually made his return against the 49ers for Washington, and obviously has now made big strides over another full off season of, I guess, not rehab, but just reacclimatization into the fold. So the 49ers are serious. We knew that they were players on the trade market, and they might still be players on the trade market. Jalen Johnson hasn't been moved yet, and he's requested a trade. He's free to seek a trade. The cornerback from the Chicago Bears grew up in the 49ers market from Fresno. And, the big picture is the 49ers need to improve their coverage combination. Steve Wilks has to be a whole lot better. Kyle Shanahan is addressing that right now. But the defensive line also needs to be better because the first goal is to address the 49ers' number 26 run defense. They've fallen off a cliff on that side of the ball, and Chase Young can help them do that. Drake Jackson got pancaked by a tight end against Minnesota. It wasn't good enough for the 49ers. I think Jackson, ever since then, has not played on a running down. The 49ers have needed more. Randy Gregory's done a good job, but he's only a 242-pound edge rusher. Chase Young brings some 260-plus pound size for the 49ers on that side of the ball. So, yes, the 49ers have one of the most aggressive front offices in the NFL. But, this is the thing. They've constantly found good bargain deals. Chase Young's 2023 price is only $561,000 on the salary cap. And this is a 49ers team with about $40 million of space. So this doesn't hurt them in the big picture in 2024 and beyond. Now, Young is scheduled to be a free agent after this season. Even if he walks, if he continues playing really well and he walks for a lot of money elsewhere, if the 49ers decide they can't re-sign him, the 49ers will probably be able to pick up a third round, at least a third round, maybe at least a fourth round compensatory pick. It's just going to depend on the formula and how much money Chase Young signs elsewhere for, if that is indeed the case. So the 49ers spent the third round pick for Chase Young, and they might get a third round pick back. And if the 49ers end up this season, where we expect them to end up in the playoffs with a low draft pick, well, that third round draft pick that they gave up won't be worth much less than the compensatory pick they can get back if Chase Young does sign elsewhere for significant money. So the most aggressive front office in the NFL strikes again. The 49ers already picked up Randy Gregory for a bargain. Randy Gregory is a really good pass rusher. And now they pick up Chase Young. So I just wrote a little hit for The Athletic. We're going to try to put that up on the screen as soon as it's published. The 49ers now have the Ohio State bookend on the defensive line at the defensive edge rusher positions. Nick Bosa on one side, Chase Young on the other side. Both of those guys, draft picks, number 2 draft picks, right, out of Ohio State in successive seasons. Chase Young, what a big pickup for the 49ers. And, above all else, it's an energy infusion. And that's something I think I have to tweet right now. Because, obviously the 49ers need that better edge setting presence. They've been getting washed out on that edge against the run. That's led downstream to a lot of problems for this defense. But last year at this time, or maybe a few days before, they made a big splash move for Christian McCaffrey. And I think that it definitely helped things fall into place as far as complementary football went. Sometimes there's just an energy that you need to correct in the locker room. At 3-4 last year, the 49ers were able to fix that energy. They were actually 3-3 when they traded for McCaffrey. They lost to Kansas City a couple of days after that. So that moved them to 3-3 moved to 3-4, and then the McCaffrey acquisition really started paying off after he had a chance to learn the system. He's made history against the Rams, and the rest was history. So the energy level of the team got that second wind, right? And I think with Chase Young, this is a player of high enough stature that the 49ers can also stand to benefit from this energy infusion. And again, it comes at almost no cost. $561,000 here in 2023, and the 49ers can recoup the draft pick cost if Chase Young walks. You look at the career trajectory for Chase Young, he was awesome in 2020 as a rookie. Then he tore his ACL in week 10 of 2021. The ACL tear, it was a longer than usual recovery because of the process that they went through to fix his ACL. They grafted part of the patellar tendon from Young's other knee, and that led to additional recovery time. So that knocked out most of Chase Young's 2022 season. But by 2023, he's been back. He's been healthy with a vengeance. 5 sacks already here in 2023. He was the second overall pick in the 2020 draft out of Ohio State. Larry Johnson, the defensive line coach there, developed Chase Young, and the year before, he developed Nick Bosa, who's also the second overall pick out of the draft to the 49ers in 2019. So this is a huge move for the 49ers, the most aggressive front office in the NFL. They're going to be able to set a much harder edge now. Randy Gregory is going to be able to slot down into more of a pure pass rushing role, maybe on third downs, maybe as a rotation in that second unit, which is, I think, ideal for the 30-year-old Randy Gregory. I mean, just think about it this way. The 49ers have gotten an edge rusher in his prime to add to this already stocked roster, right? A 24-year-old edge rusher in Chase Young. That's it. To me, it's hard to believe that they're able to get this for this kind of price. But the first goal will be for Chase Young to help address that number 26 run defense of the 49ers. Big move for the 49ers. They trade for Chase Young. I'm going to have to send out a couple tweets here. So you guys can follow along on Twitter at Lombardi himself. Get your questions ready. Good thing I have the coffee after the red-eye flight yesterday. Big stuff for the 49ers along the defensive line. My tweet, Chase Young will cost the 49ers only about $561,000 this season. 1.2 thousand likes. That was quick. Another splash for the 49ers. Larry Johnson, the defensive line coach of Ohio State. What a job he has done producing these edge rushers. First Nick Bosa, and now Chase Young. And they're both 49ers edge rushers. That's going to be my next tweet. Ohio State defensive line coach Larry Johnson can become a true legend in 49ers circles now, too. He's developed both Nick Bosa and Chase Young. The Buckeye, we'll call it the Buckeye bookend. Nick Bosa and Chase Young, the Buckeye bookend. And I'm going to put a little trademark on it. Trademarked. And put this on the screen. The Buckeye. Boom. The Buckeye bookend. Nick Bosa and Chase Young. Now, we need to contextualize this with the 49ers defensive issues as of late. I think that what we saw against the Cincinnati Bengals, and by extension, what we saw against the Minnesota Vikings the game prior, really ascertained that this is a coverage issue. This is on Steve Wilks. And the 49ers obviously need to get that fixed. That's a separate issue. But the defensive line is winning. I mean, Nick Bosa had 9 pressures against the Cincinnati Bengals. I know that the defensive line screwed up the first, third, and long opportunity when Eric Armstead couldn't sack Burrow, was a little too high, and then Burrow got away from Bosa as well, and that set a tone for the game. But for the most part, the 49ers were pushing that pocket. They're winning up front. They still have the talent that we talked about all throughout the first 5 games of this season up front, but they're just generally not making opposing quarterbacks hold on to the ball for that extra hitch. And that's the coverage's fault, right? Richard Sherman yesterday blasted Steve Wilks, saying that the 49ers have been playing way too much man coverage, have gone away from their identity on first and second downs. Obviously, Isaiah Oliver has not been good in coverage for the 49ers. There are a couple really bad plays from him, and that's allowing opposing quarterbacks to get the ball out before the 49ers pass rush even has a chance to get home. The 49ers don't need that much from their secondary. They need better schemes from Steve Wilks and a little bit just better coverage. I know both of those things are related and go hand in hand. Better schemes will lead to better coverage, maybe more zone coverage, as Richard Sherman suggested, on first and second downs. And if the 49ers deliver that, they'll probably get an extra hitch from opposing quarterbacks. And now you have Chase Young on the opposite end of Nick Bosa. You also have Randy Gregory, who you recently picked up. Drake Jackson probably pushed out of the mix now for the 49ers, right? Probably going to be an inactive player. Maybe that's somebody that they're able to trade away because he has shown some pass rushing flash, but the problem is he hasn't been able to play the run. And the run is something that Chase Young has been able to play for the 49ers or for the Commanders in the past, for the Washington football team as it began for Chase Young. But now they're the Commanders. Now he's a 49er, and he's definitely set a harder edge than Drake Jackson has ever been able to set. Jackson beefed up over the course of this past offseason, but edge setting is a mentality. You got to get guys who are willing to scrap, get it done. And, this acquisition of Chase Young, I think, is one that definitely speaks to that for the 49ers. Randy Gregory's only 242 pounds. He's got that mentality. But again, he's only 242 pounds. In Chase Young, the 49ers have gotten a bigger player, a 264-pound player on the edge opposite Bosa, similar body type. So on these rundowns, you now have the beef on both ends to be able to get this done. And then Randy Gregory obviously can be more of a speed rusher for the 49ers, a lot less pressure on Randy Gregory, who's also, by the way, coming off of an injury from last season. That's a knee injury as well for Gregory. It was a meniscus, but he's 100% healthy now. And I think that Chase Young is 100% healthy. All right, our article is up on The Athletic. Let's get this up on the screen. This is what I've been waiting to do. This I'm going to send to Mike. Mike, if you can please toss this into the description. The link is right here. Mike's going to toss this into the description. The article is up onto the screen. It reads exactly as you see up on the screen. Commanders trade Chase Young to the 49ers for a 2024 third-round pick. And the 49ers can recoup most of that third-round pick with a comp pick if Chase Young walks. Because we look at the statistics for Chase Young over here on Pro Football Reference. And, the simple stats are going to be the ones that determine how much he gets paid. That's generally how it works in the NFL. I know that we like to analyze on a little bit of a deeper level, but flash stats translate into money, and that means sacks. And he's in line to get more sacks now. 5 sacks for Chase Young in 2023. Why don't I put this up on the screen for you? We can take a look at Chase Young season by season. He had 7.5 as a rookie. Here we go. So these are his seasons. 7.5 sacks as a rookie. Then the ACL tear, a sack and a half in 2021. Although it was a disappointing start to that season for Chase Young. He didn't tear his ACL until week 10, only had a sack and a half. But his pass rushing productivity in that year wasn't terrible. Defenses were really focusing on him after that very, very good rookie season. Obviously, 2022 was a wash because he didn't come back until really late against the 49ers. And then 2023, already 5 sacks for Chase Young. So if he continues on this sack pace, he's going to earn some significant coin in this offseason, and the 49ers will be able to recoup most of that third-round pick with a compensatory pick. I would think with at least a fourth-round comp pick, maybe even more. Big acquisition for the 49ers. They now have the Buckeye bookend. So go ahead and check out the article here that we already have up on The Athletic in the description. Huge move for the 49ers, who now, we can slot this into their depth chart. Why don't we take a look at how this impacts the 49ers depth chart? I'll open it up on the screen for you. So here we go. We'll see what the corresponding move for the 49ers is. Obviously, they're at a full 53 right now and at a full 70 on the 70-man roster. But you've got Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave, and obviously Chase Young is a starter on this team. So I just replaced Drake Jackson with Chase Young. I think Randy Gregory and Cleveland Farrell are the two top edge backups, and we can put Drake Jackson over here in the third string position. Now, that is 12 defensive linemen on the 53-man roster, and we're one over the limit. So the 49ers are going to have to make a move. Do they continue to ride it out with Drake Jackson and allow his development to continue, or do they cut him or part ways with him? If they continue to ride it out with Drake Jackson, despite having this glut of talent now at the defensive end position, then the 49ers will have to get rid of somebody else to fit under 53 men. So that's what the roster looks like right now. I am going to copy and paste and put this up on Twitter, the Twitter machine, and then we will work from there. Here's what the 49ers roster and depth chart looks like now with Chase Young aboard. It obviously sits at 54 players. So SF will have to make a corresponding move. Montez Sweat went to the Chicago Bears. That was Chase Young's teammate in Washington. The 49ers had been interested in both Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Montez Sweat might be a little bit better run defender at this point of his career. That's what he specialized in. Chase Young, a little bit better pass rusher, but Young could do both. Montez Sweat went to Chicago in a very surprising move. I still don't understand why the Bears did it, because they're going to have to pay him after this year. The Bears are not contenders, so they paid a high second-round pick, which was more than the 49ers were willing to offer. 49ers ended up spending a low 3, right? What projects to be a low 3 for Chase Young. A high second-round pick for Montez Sweat and a 9-game rental of Montez Sweat, because they're going to have to pay him after that. They could have just signed him in free agency if they wanted him that bad. I mean, the money's not going to change either way. He's scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent. So we see why bad franchises stay bad. The Chicago Bears made a completely worthless trade today to bring in a guy who's not going to move the needle at all. In fact, he could only move the needle in the wrong direction. He can only worsen the Bears draft stock if he plays well, right? They want pick positioning here, or at least they should want pick positioning. And bringing in Montez Sweat doesn't make much sense for Chicago. But bringing in Chase Young makes a lot of sense for the 49ers. That's my next tweet. Washington D-line prices on the trade market. By the way, Lombardi himself on Twitter. Whenever breaking news strikes, I have to write and I have to do social media, so I try to do both here. I'll take a look at some questions in a bit, but I'm sure that the comment section is buzzing. Of course it is. 398 comments and counting since the last time I checked it. Montez Sweat was high second round pick, presumably, right? Chase Young, low third round pick. I'll put presumable Washington D-line prices on the trade market. The 49ers were interested in both. Their price for Sweat would have had to be even higher, likely a first rounder. So this was good business from SF. I could put some of these tweets up on the screen for you too. All right, let's get this one up on the screen. Give you a little bit of a payoff for all the typing I've been doing here over the last few minutes. Oops, I cut off my head, but who cares? It's the thought that counts. So the presumable Washington D-line prices on the trade market, Montez Sweat, a high second rounder. Chicago sent that over for Montez Sweat, 9 games of Montez Sweat. Chase Young, a low third round pick. 49ers were interested in both players. Their price for Sweat would have had it be even higher, likely a first rounder. So this was good business from the 49ers. Now we wait to see if Jalen Johnson comes to the 49ers. Because if Jalen Johnson comes to the 49ers, then they are cooking with gas. I have to tweet the article. Because Jalen Johnson is a player who would directly address the need that the 49ers have. I think that Chase Young addresses some of the coverage need because of the way that he can stop the run and fortify the edge. But to directly address what's happening on the coverage end, to buy the pass rush some more time, because coverage can fuel rush as well, the 49ers could really use another corner to move Diomeder Lenore inside and get Isaiah Oliver out of these pass-happy situations. All right, the Twitter machine, or the X machine, I guess we can call it now, is going to be firing again. I got to get this article out there. The 49ers grabbed Chase Young at a bargain rate to form the Buckeye bookend with Nick Bosa. I don't think the 49ers are done yet. I think they're working really hard to get another trade done right now, and we have 38 minutes for them to do so. And if I had a guess, it's going to be Jalen Johnson. And that's going to be my next tweet. Something along those lines. Tim Kawakami reports from an NFL source. The 49ers are closing in on another trade. I don't know who it's for, but it seems likely they've got one more. Let me put this back up on the screen. The 49ers have the most aggressive front office in the National Football League. Hands down. 2017, Jimmy Garoppolo. 2018 was the only quiet year. 2019, Emmanuel Sanders. 2020, Jordan Willis. 2021, Charles Omenihu. 2022, Christian McCaffrey. 2023, Randy Gregory and Chase Young. Will Jalen Johnson be next for the 49ers? That would, I'm just reading as I type, directly address this team's biggest flaw: coverage. But Chase Young already does address it in a less direct way, since SF absolutely must improve its number 26 run defense to cover better. Boom. All right, now we're going to give people the 49ers trade record. 49ers have the most 49ers under John Lynch have been the most aggressive front office in the NFL. Let's put that, the most aggressive pre-deadline front office in the NFL. 2017, Jimmy Garoppolo. 2019, Emmanuel Sanders. 2020, Jordan Willis. 2021, Charles Omenihu. 2022, Christian McCaffrey. 2023, Randy Gregory, Chase Young. And all of their acquisitions have become positive contributors. Trying to get it under 280 characters. Boom, got it. Let's get this up on the screen. Can you read that? 49ers and Lynch have been the most aggressive pre-deadline front office in the NFL. All acquisitions have become positive contributors. Garoppolo, Sanders, Willis, Omenihu, McCaffrey, Randy Gregory, and Chase Young. TBD on the 2022-2023 guys, obviously. But Gregory, I mean, I think he's been good through his first couple of games for the 49ers. And now Chase Young is going to be there against Jacksonville the following week. Mike asks, how many first-round defensive line do the 49ers have right now? Farrell, first-rounder. Armstead, first-rounder. Bosa, first-rounder. Chase Young, first-rounder. And Javon Kinlaw, first-rounder. Javon Hargrave is a big-time player, but he's not a first-round pick. Out of South Carolina State. But they have the Buckeye bookend, the 49ers do. 33 minutes until the trade deadline. Is Jalen Johnson next? I'm making a text title. Jalen Johnson would be a cornerback out of Fresno Central High School. I would certainly be able to pay Central High School a visit if this happened. You guys know I like to go above and beyond. I would drive down to Fresno. It's my home territory. Tough cornerback. He's from Fresno. You got to be tough if you're from Fresno. And I'm allowed to say that because that's where I'm from. I'm from Visalia, but 5'9". They make him tough in the 5'9". But, I mean, just watching the tape of Jalen Johnson, he's a guy, I mean, he's a wider cornerback. He's somebody, he's got some physical presence to him. Not afraid to hit. It's 6 feet tall, so he's not, the old school cover 3 Richard Sherman prototype, but he's a physical corner, good ball skills, pick 6 already this year, having his best season. Supposedly he was asking an outrageous amount from the Chicago Bears after this season for his contract extension. But the 49ers wouldn't have to worry about that. Any acquiring team wouldn't have to worry about that if they just want a rental. And it looks like the 49ers are dead set right now on rental mode. I don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign Chase Young, and I quite frankly don't care, and I don't think the 49ers care right now. Chase Young is costing them only $561,000. They could recoup the third-round pick in the compensatory formula if they need to. The 49ers should be focused on this season, and they absolutely are focused on this season first. I'm sure that the chat section is a lot better than it was after the game the other day when I didn't even bother reading it. Somebody said that Jalen's heading to Pittsburgh. Is that true, Mike? Rightful One said that. I don't want to. Right, thank you, Rightful One. I'm not going to put it up on the screen just in case. I don't want to put up rumors that I haven't been able to confirm yet because I know we have a lot of viewers and I am a responsible reporter. But I appreciate your comment. The chat is happy. Yeah, Mike said no on Jalen Johnson to Pittsburgh. So good thing I didn't put up on the screen. But I still appreciate it. So thank you. I will stay live for the remainder of the trade deadline. We got 30 minutes, yes. I might step away and get some water. I'm going to text my wife back right now. We might have a couple minutes of a lull. Everybody should be on the Athletic at this point right here. Commanders trade Chase Young to the 49ers for a third-round pick. Our analysis is there. Make sure that you are checking that out. It is in the description. So my wife has a deal for me tonight. You need to tell me whether or not I should take this trade. She said, I have an idea for us tonight. One of us gets to pick dinner / like takeout, like what we're going to get for takeout because we don't want to go out to tonight. And the other one gets to pick which movie we watch. And then she gave me like the little eye emoji, the look emoji. I think it might be a ruse for her to be able to get whatever food she wants because I think she picks terrible movies. So she knows that with this trade, she knows that I'm going to prevent her from picking the movie because I'll pick the movie because I won't want her to pick a movie that I don't like, and then she'll get to pick the food. So would you take this trade or not? Pick the movie or pick the food? I'm seeing a lot of pick the movie. Movie. Eric Gomes just says yes. Should I pick the movie or should I pick the food? Eric Gomes. Yes. Yeah, I could still give you food reviews, though, even if I don't pick the food, though, right? I don't have to pick the food to give a food review. This right here, we as men eat anything. I think it's the key. I'm going to pick the movie. So I'll pick the movie. And I just texted her the 49ers traded for Chase Young. The YouTube channel wants to know your reaction. Okay. From Ian Rappaport, is Jalen Johnson expected to stay in Chicago? Is that what Ian Rappaport said? Is nobody willing to trade for Jalen Johnson? I'm looking at Rap Sheet's Twitter. Yeah, Ian Rappaport says, after a day of exploration, Jalen Johnson is expected to stay in Chicago, sources say. It's too bad. I just, from a personal standpoint, wanted the 49ers to have a guy from Fresno on the team. That just would have been fun for me, but didn't happen. We move forward. Rasul Douglas to the Bills, Mike says. Any rumors of the Niners dealing anyone? Well, I mean, I think that Drake Jackson is far down on the depth chart now if they could find a trade partner. We've got 26 minutes before the trade deadline. So I have made the trade with Margot. I will be picking the movie, and she will be picking dinner. Because we as men eat anything, and that's true. You've probably seen me eating essentially everything on the channel already. So I think it's a fair trade. I think it's good. Chase Young has one major career injury here. This is not a true narrative. He had a torn ACL in 2021 that the recovery stretched into 2022 because they took the patellar tendon from the other knee, or they took it from the other knee over to the injured knee. So one injury has cost Chase Young the bulk of his career so far. But it's not like he's constantly hurt. Nick Bosa also suffered a torn ACL, but he came back and he won the Defensive Player of the Year. So let's make sure that we get this straight about Chase Young's injury history. Exactly. He's a low risk, high upside trade. Chase Young and Randy Gregory. Very low risk, very high upside, a very high potential. Well, upside is potential. Upside deals for the 49ers. Just good business. Especially with the compensatory pick formula. Considered. So now we wait 24 more minutes. Ted Nguyen, who writes for us at The Athletic. If it's Jalen Johnson, who the 49ers get next, if they do have another trade in them, 49ers fans will be the happiest fan base ever coming off a 3-game losing streak. That would be true. A really weird 3-game losing streak, but I discussed so much of it yesterday. While everybody's here, I could go over some of this stuff because this will contextualize where the 49ers are at. I tweeted this article yesterday. I wrote it back in May. And, we're talking about the 49ers defense right now with Chase Young and what the 49ers need to fix on that side of the ball. Well, back in May, I wrote this on Steve Wilks. Inside Steve Wilks' crash course on the 49ers defense and the history behind it. Steve Wilks, this was a risk, a gamble from Kyle Shanahan. They had the number 1 defense in the league. And Shanahan wanted to make it even better. And the reason I wrote this is because it helps explain the process, the thought process under which the 49ers are operating. The history of Mike Shanahan played a big part in the 49ers hiring Steve Wilks, because Mike Shanahan joined the 49ers in 1992, and the 49ers already had a robust coaching structure. They had won 4 Super Bowls, and they wanted to make it better. They wanted to take outside ideas that Mike Shanahan, as an offensive genius, brought to the table, but they also didn't want to stop doing what was already working for them. So they basically locked Mike Shanahan in a room, not literally, but they basically told Mike Shanahan to move away from his family, move out to the Bay Area early, spend the offseason studying the 49ers way of doing things so he could learn that like the back of his hand, fluently speak the 49ers language, and then pepper in his own ideas. It worked to perfection with Mike Shanahan in 1992. Steve Young won the MVP right away under his tutelage in 92, and then the 49ers won the Super Bowl in 94. Then Mike Shanahan was hired away by Denver in 1995. Kyle Shanahan was hoping for something similar with Steve Wilks. He wanted to keep the line moving defensively, but sprinkle in some new ideas, because Steve Wilks was a DB mind, and the 49ers defense had previously been run by front 7 minds, right? D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh, both linebacker coaching backgrounds. Chris Kasarik, the engine of that defensive staff, he's a D-line coach. So Shanahan wanted to mix up the coverage combination. So he brought in Steve Wilks, and he challenged Steve Wilks the same way that George Seifert challenged his dad, Mike Shanahan, back in 1992. And Steve Wilks ran the crash course, and I talk about the crash course here. The problem is that the initial results have been ones of poor coverage for the 49ers because they've changed a lot of things. Richard Sherman told us yesterday they're running a lot more man on first and second downs. Now, there are two ways to look at this. Will this all pay off in the long run for the 49ers? Are these just growing pains early on, and will they turn the corner later on? I'm skeptical of that because the 49ers dropped down to number 26 in run defense here from number 2. They've been top 2 over the past 2 seasons. They've dropped down to number 26. That, if you're just going through growing pains, you don't go from 1 to 26 or 2 to 26. Systemically, something's not right. They might be telegraphing some of their plays too. Who knows what happened here over the past 3 games, but especially against 2 good quarterbacks in Cousins and Burrow, way too many guys are open. The issue has been in the spot that Wilks was supposed to improve. And I get sometimes you take a step back before you take a couple steps forward just because you have to get familiar with a new scheme, new players. But the 49ers have taken way too far of a step back under Steve Wilks so far. So that's why they're taking a long, hard look at what's going on this week. And that doesn't necessarily mean fire Steve Wilks. It means auditing what the hell is going on so they could come out of this bye week better. And Shanahan identified most of the problems against the Bengals as rooting from fatigue and exhaustion. And that's fair, but they also struggled against the Vikings when they should have been fresh the week before. So anyway, the 49ers are trying to fortify their defensive line so they can improve the run defense because that's the first building block in helping the pass defense. And this Chase Young trade, I think, definitely is aimed toward doing that. And now they may not be done yet. We've got 19 minutes until the trade deadline, and maybe the 49ers make another move. Maybe this one's in the secondary to directly address the coverage combination issue that this team has been going through. But anyway, that's the background on the Steve Wilks situation. I think you should know that to be a smarter football fan, so you know why Kyle Shanahan did what he did, and you know or are better appraised of the potential next steps for the 49ers. Back to Chase Young, though, because this is what happened today. The 49ers have the most aggressive front office in the NFL. They have traded with Washington. 3rd-round pick going to the East Coast, Chase Young coming across country to the 49ers at a 2023 price tag of only $561,000. It's a steal for the 49ers, right? They can recoup most of the 3rd-round pick through the compensatory formula process if Chase Young walks. And there's a chance that he does walk for significant money because the Buckeye bookend with Nick Bosa on one side and Chase Young on the other has a chance to be really damn productive. Young already has 5 sacks this season. And no, I don't think the injuries are that much of a concern. The ACL tear, he's already bounced back from that. That happened 21, wiped away most of 22. He has 5 sacks already this year. Career high was 7.5. I should look up some of the pass rushing productivity numbers for Chase Young, see where he's at this year. I am so happy I'm not on a plane today. I flew the red eye for you guys last night because I knew the 49ers were going to make a trade. So I took the red eye last night so I wouldn't be in the air while they're making a pre-deadline trade. Ended up being a good decision. Let's go by position here on PFF. Let's go defense grades, edge rusher. Let's see where Chase Young is in terms of pass rushing productivity so far this year. That includes pressures. It includes quarterback hits, all that good stuff. Chase Young is number 6 in pass rushing productivity. He's tied with TJ Watt, just ahead of Nick Bosa. Let's put that up on the screen. How about we do that? I got to tweet it first. So far, this pass rushing productivity so far this 2023 season from PFF. And I'll read you the list as we go down of the players who rank the highest. Myles Garrett, number 1. Micah Parsons, number 2. Trey Hendrickson, whom the 49ers just faced with the Bengals, number 3. That's why they needed Trent Williams back, but he wasn't back yet because Hendrickson worked against Jalen Moore. George Karlaftis, playing a great season for Kansas City, number 4. Max Crosby of the Raiders, number 5. And then we have a 3-way tie for 6. John Franklin Myers of the Jets. TJ Watt of the Steelers. And Nick Bosa of the 49ers. Well, actually, I know Chase Young of the 49ers. Then Nick Bosa is right behind them at number 9. Josh Allen of Jacksonville, who the 49ers are going to see coming off of the bye, is at 10. So the rankings are typed and they are tweeted. And they're about to go up on the screen. We got 14 minutes until the deadline. We'll see if the 49ers are able to make one more move. Tim Kawakami said there's one more in the pipeline. That was his source. So we will see if that ends up panning out. All right, here are those pass rush productivity ratings so far this year. Bosa's not been having a bad year. That's myth. That's comes from the fact that they're not covering on the back end. He hasn't been able to deliver the sacks he needs to. But as far as pass rushing productivity, which includes pressures, as far as defensive end grade, he's been playing well. This will help, though, because this will help stop the run to the other side. That should help the coverage. That should help Nick Bosa get some more sacks. And I get it. People look at the simple statistics, but we're just analyzing this a little bit more deeply. So the 49ers have 2 of these guys in the top 10 now. Chase Young's from Maryland, so he was drafted by the hometown team. Obviously, college at Ohio State. Larry Johnson, the great defensive line coach over there, really big with the hand scissors. Anytime you watch a good Ohio State defensive lineman, he will disable opposing offensive linemen with his hands better than anybody. Side scissors. I mean, he's got a whole arsenal of moves. Chase Young has that arsenal. Nick Bosa has that arsenal. 49ers are going to be a terror coming off both edges now. And they really, I mean, you look at it, it's a bit of an arms race against Seattle. It picked up a versatile defensive lineman in Leonard Williams yesterday. The 3rd-round draft pick that the 49ers have traded to Washington, according to Matt Mayoko, is the special compensatory pick for losing Rand Carthon, who became the Titans GM, and D'Amico Ryans, who became the Texans head coach. So the 49ers used a comp pick to trade for Chase Young? Are you kidding me? So they could get a comp pick back. They used the comp pick to trade for him, and they stand to get up to a 3rd-round comp pick in return. So this could essentially be a free trade. This is crazy. I mean, that's from Matt Mayoko. This is just good business from the 49ers. Again, $561,000, and they could recoup the picks. That's if Chase Young makes some money elsewhere, which at the sack pace that he's at right now seems eminently possible. All right, I'm going to retweet this. So the 49ers have a chance to essentially rent Chase Young for free if rental is the path they go. Because Young can command up to a third round comp pick if he signs elsewhere. And the 49ers only spent a third round comp pick to get him. Wow. I ended that with wow. Chess, not checkers. This 49ers front office has built a hell of a roster. Now they have to figure the schematic stuff out on the back end and maybe pick up another DB. I don't know. That's where the rumors, it's where the reports lie. And we have 10 minutes until the 2023 NFL trade deadline. They already have a hell of a deal in place for Chase Young. And now we'll see if the 49ers are active again. The roster as it stands right now is right here. I put Chase Young in there. I can highlight him. What color should we highlight Chase Young? I'll highlight him in some kind of obnoxiously teal blue color so you can see where that addition is. Right there, Chase Young. I mean, it's a good-looking defense from a talent standpoint. I think I can move Ambry Thomas out of the mix right now because the 49ers have just been running Isaiah Oliver at the nickel cornerback position. I think the lack of trust in Ambry Thomas has underscored the need for the 49ers to try to get another outside corner. It doesn't look, Rappaport reported that Jalen Johnson was going to be staying put. Maybe the price for him was too high, but right now the 49ers, they have a schematic coordinating weakness that Steve Wilks needs to address on the back end. And I do think that the change of direction is lacking for Isaiah Oliver, creating a liability there for Steve Wilks, something that's tougher to scheme around at the nickelback position. But they have a hell of a defensive line. They've got a hell of a crew of linebackers. They've got a good cornerback one. I think Diamano Lenore is a good cornerback too. The safeties haven't been playing as well this year. Tackling-wise, it's taken a little bit of a drop-off. The 49ers have really struggled tackling-wise at all positions. But I think really the only true weak spot of that defense is at that nickelback spot. Our Ben Standig, who is our Washington reporter, said, according to another team source, the Commanders hope to keep Montez Sweat, but the value of the Bears' offer proved too good. So with Montez Sweat, the Bears offered that high second-round pick, which nobody is sure why. It was such a good deal for Washington that they couldn't pass it up. This, for Chase Young, is such a good deal for San Francisco that they couldn't pass it up. $561,000 price this year, and they could recoup the third-round pick if he walks. It's really hard to get a 24-year-old pass rusher in his prime for this low of a cost. It's just really hard to get a 24-year-old pass rusher in his prime in general, but the 49ers have managed to do it. 7 minutes. Now, remember, the 49ers can also pick up other DBs post-deadline through their own roster. Samuel Womack, the third, who's been on injured reserve. That's a possibility. You look back at the roster right here. Darrell Luter, who is on the PUP NFI list. He's eligible to return. So they have two more DBs in-house. Both possible. Anthony Brown is on the team, but they haven't turned to him yet, the former Cowboy. So we shall see. It's a situation right now where it's a countdown. 6 minutes to go until the trade deadline. I'm going to get the exact time up right here. Let's get the exact time. Let's get like a second hand. I'm in Central Time right now, by the way. But I'll, because I know most of my viewers are in Pacific Time, I'll get a Pacific Time clock up. We've got exactly 5 minutes to go until the 2023 trade deadline. 5 minutes to go. '49ers have already picked up Chase Young. We'll see if other moves are on their way. Let's hit 2,000 here. Send this to all your friends. Let's get everybody to join. Fun day, 49ers trade deadline day. They've already made a huge splash. We wait to see if they make another one. Oh, we got Magic Johnson down there. Got a little ad on the page here. We could skip the ad. 12:55 and 50 seconds. That was the Steve Wilks article from yesterday. Here is the Chase Young piece from today. I'll maybe answer one question here as we wait. It's almost empty. It's not fake. I took the red eye, so I needed some coffee to wake back up this morning. Chase Young was practically free. That is true. All right, we've got less than 3 minutes to go. Clock is open on the screen here for the 2023 NFL trade deadline. The 49ers have already brought in Chase Young, and now we will see what else, if anything, happens. Now, even if we don't get official word right at 1 o'clock, when this deadline happens, it still is possible that something has happened. It just means it hasn't been reported yet. So I'm on the text line here with several people. And if something does happen, you'll hear it on this channel very soon after it does happen. I can guarantee you that. 2 minutes to go. It's amazing, last year the 49ers got that energy infusion from Christian McCaffrey. It helped fix a lot of things. Obviously, schematically, that was the big deal for Christian McCaffrey, right? But there definitely was an energy component to things, and I don't think that we can discount that with Chase Young, because this is a big name. This is somebody that is playing well again, right? He hit 5 sacks coming off of the rehab year in 2022. Number 6 in pass rush productivity for Chase Young. And we've got just over a minute before the 2023 NFL trade deadline. Perfect. We're at 1999. We're about to cross into 2000. 60 seconds to go. The 49ers have already made one big move. Now we see if they'll make another one before the deadline. Again, the deadline itself doesn't mean that the move hadn't been made if we haven't heard about it within the next 50 seconds. Just means that the deadline is hit, and we're going to wait for potential news to trickle in. 40 seconds until the 2023 NFL trade deadline. We cross 2,000 here. 30 seconds. We can all count down together. This is dramatic. The announcement could definitely be made after the deadline. At this point, I would even expect it to be made after the deadline if there is an announcement. 15 seconds to go until the 2023 trade deadline. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it is hit. The 2023 NFL trade deadline is here. I do not know of a second 49ers move yet following the Chase Young trade, but it is still possible that one has happened. So now that 1 o'clock has passed, we can take that clock off the screen and we can wait here and see if the 49ers have made another move because the announcement can come after the deadline. Got over 2,000 in the room here at the trade deadline. Everybody, it's been another fun ride, I have to say. I'm not signing off right now. I'm just saying that the 49ers in every single season, except for 2018, have made a move before the deadline. Last year, Christian McCaffrey was 10 days before, wasn't a few minutes before. This year, we've got a 49ers move on the doorstep of that trade deadline. It is for Chase Young, the pass rusher. We can recap some things. The 49ers are the most aggressive front office in the NFL. I think that's been very, very clear. They picked up a top 6 pass rush productivity guy, but the first goal is to improve the run defense because that's going to help the pass defense the most, is if you give that pass defense a platform from which to succeed. The down and distance has to be good. And this is the 49ers trade resume over the course of the years. This is why I say they have the most aggressive front office in the NFL. Garoppolo, Sanders, Willis, Amenahu, McCaffrey, Randy Gregory, and Chase Young. So we still continue to wait to see if something materializes for the 49ers. I, meanwhile, am going to scour Twitter very quickly, have to do my reconnaissance. Chase Young has 5 sacks so far this year. Nick Bosa has 3. Javon Hargrave has 3. Drake Jackson has 3. Eric Armstead, 2.5. Fred Warner, 2. Kevin Givens, 1. Dre Greenlaw, 1. Randy Gregory, 1. Cleveland Farrell has half of a sack. He shared one with Eric Armstead. I'm sure many of you asking, how long do we have to wait right now for potential more news? That's an indefinite period of time. It could be nothing. If it is nothing, well, the 49ers have still made a big splash today with the acquisition of Chase Young. But I'll answer some questions to help pass the time right now. There it is. Go ahead and make sure that you're subscribed to The Athletic. This was our analysis for the Chase Young trade, and I'll answer some of these questions. Sub. Yeah, do that as well. Sub to the YouTube channel. I will recap what's happened so far. The massive 49ers trade for Chase Young underscores that the 49ers are the most aggressive front office in the NFL. The first goal here is to address the number 26 run defense, but Chase Young also has more sacks than anybody else on this 49ers team. He went to Ohio State. He was the number 2 overall pick out of Ohio State the year after Nick Bosa was the number 2 overall pick out of Ohio State. So we can call it the Buckeye bookend. Matt Barrows might have improved on that nickname on Twitter when he saw that I put the Buckeye bookend. He's going to call it the Buckend. But the 49ers now have Chase Young trying to set an edge against the run and rush the passer. as the team sack leader already this season instead of somebody like Drake Jackson, which is a big move. This helps build a bridge between Randy Gregory and Nick Bosa, and that's what the 49ers were trying to do. They have a 264-pound hefty edge rusher now who can fight through those edge blocks, and that lets Randy Gregory be more of the speed rushing type on different downs for the 49ers. Depth is key along that defensive line. 49ers can recoup most of the third-round pick that they spent for Chase Young. It's a comp pick that they got for Carthon leaving, for DeMeco Ryans leaving. If Chase Young signs elsewhere, if he becomes a rental this season, 49ers can recoup that pick. But the first goal for them is to address this number 26 run defense. I asked if Jalen Johnson was next. Probably not, since the report from Rappaport is that he's going to stay put. The trade deadline has come and it has passed. And we'll wait to see if the 49ers make another move. With that said, I'll just make another video if that's what happens, because I need a little bit of a break. I need a little bit of a reset time here, and I have no idea when more news might roll in. That's going to be completely random. So we'll see if John Lynch is still on the phone. We'll see, or was on the phone 5-6 minutes ago when the deadline happened, and we'll see what the fruits of the 49ers labor are. If it's just Chase Young, well, that's still a huge deal for a team that's obviously contending for a Super Bowl. Go ahead and check out the article. The 49ers have made a big trade. I've taken, an hour and 7 minutes out of this afternoon here for you to go through some of this stuff. So appreciate you subscribing. We'll talk to you all very soon. Stay tuned. Hit that little notification bell, because the 49ers make one more move, I will immediately be live again. I promise that. So we'll talk to everybody soon.